2025 is coming to a close in just a few hours, at least for us, and it delivered a year full of news. Familiar face returned to the White House, fires, floods, ravaged parts of the country, and America claimed its first ever pope.
CNN's Michael Yoshida looks back at this year's biggest stories.
2025 began with back-to-back tragedies. New Year's celebrations turned deadly in New Orleans. A terror attack shutting down the city's famed Bourbon Street. Just days later,
we drove up and I just kept saying, my home, my home.
Deadly and destructive fires tear across Los Angeles, destroying thousands of homes.
We wanted to see for ourselves what the damage was, but it's gone. It's gone. It's a total loss.
Heartbreak in Texas. Young girls attending summer camp among the more than 130 people who lost their lives in catastrophic flooding.
Please pray for our community.
And tragedy in our nation's capital. A passenger jet colliding with a U.S. Army helicopter, the deadliest U.S. plane crash in nearly 2 decades.
I, Donald John Trump, do solemnly swear.
Donald Trump returned to the White House. Job and spending cuts, tariffs, and immigration enforcement and raids becoming political and social flashpoints. Court battles, protests, and marches playing out across the country. The president claiming there was widespread crime, ordering National Guard troops to several U.S. cities, leading to clashes with protesters.
We're trying to solve a problem. Don't tell us what we're going to feel.
I'm not telling you.
Because you're in no position to dictate that.
That's
Remember
exactly
this. You're in no position to dictate what we're going to feel.
A White House shouting match as Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, President Trump, and others met about Russia's invasion into Ukraine. Months later, a red carpet welcome for Russian President Vladimir Putin landing on American soil. But the high-stakes summit in Alaska did not end with a deal to end the Russia-Ukraine war. 2 years after Hamas attacked Israel, a ceasefire agreement reached. The last living Israeli hostages held by Hamas released in exchange for the release of Palestinian prisoners and detainees. In October and November, we saw the longest government shutdown in U.S. history, fights over health care dividing Congress, the 43-day saga ending with a deal to reopen through January. 6 years after his death, convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein back in the spotlight. A twists and turns saga from the White House to Capitol Hill, as survivors pushed for release of the so-called Epstein files.
I know everybody sees us today as grown adults, but we are fighting for the children that were abandoned and left behind in the reckoning.
We're not counting gang violence.
The assassination of conservative political activist Charlie Kirk stunned the country.
It is an attack on all of us. It is an attack on the American experiment. It is an attack on our ideals.
Comedian Jimmy Kimmel, following criticism and political pressure over comments related to Kirk's death, taken off air. Free speech protests ensued, before Kimmel eventually returned to hosting his late-night show the following week. And our nation said goodbye to political pillars. The 39th President Jimmy Carter honored. And Dick Cheney, vice president under George W. Bush, also remembered. Tributes poured in across the globe after the death of Pope Francis. White smoke revealing the first Latin American pontiff would be replaced by the first American Pope, Leo XIV, a Chicago White Sox fan turned leader of the Catholic Church. A brazen heist at the world's most visited museum, thieves robbing the Louvre of jewels estimated to be worth more than $100 million. And after what was supposed to be a short mission to space stretched into more than 9 months, NASA astronauts Sonny Williams and Butch Wilmore finally returned home.
Thank you to a nation that got involved in all of this. It makes it special, not just for us, but for all, I think our nation as a whole.
Pretty honored and humbled by the fact of when we came home, like, wow, there are a lot of people who are interested.
I'm Michael Yoshida reporting.
You know, it never ceases to amaze me every year, and we've been in the business a long time, how long a year seems when you look back at the news stories.
Right. And yet, if you think of the people directly impacted, and I think about like the people in New Orleans that 1 year, or the wildfires in California, how does that year feel to them?
And that year stretches into years of recovery,
years,
like the folks in the Marshall Fire.
And how hard it is to get through these days. But to think of all the things that happen. But when you see the Pope and the white smoke, that was just, no one expected that. That was
Chicago fan, yeah.
Yeah. It was,
all right, so we're starting a new one.
Here we go. New things in 2026.